What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I'm making this video. I got something I want to talk about. I'm actually, before I get to that though, I just want to let you guys know I'm in an effort to try and make my videos, generally speaking, shorter. I'm going to try and change some things up that will hopefully work to that goal. And so we'll see how it plays out, but I am going to mix things up a little bit, mostly just by breaking stories up into individual videos. So I'll probably be making more videos, but they'll hopefully be shorter overall. So let's get into it. For this one, I want to discuss the reports that the NFL might be shortening the 2020 schedule if they play at all. So real quick, NFL discussing shorter 2020 schedule, playing without fans amid COVID-19. The NFL is examining various contingencies should the COVID-19 pandemic force changes for the 2020 season. The Washington Post's Mark Mask reported Wednesday a shortened season is on the table, with one person saying the upcoming schedule is being done in such a way that builds in that flexibility. Now look, we've talked about before how, I personally think that all this virtual stuff that they're doing, I think it's good. I think it's smart, right? Because you're hoping eventually that all this is going to be over with, and then eventually life will get back to some sort of normalcy. So while you're able to, it's certainly a good idea to put on like virtual OTAs and stuff. It's definitely going to get a lot more difficult to manage when it comes time for in-person stuff, but I think that there are ways it still could be done. I do think that there are ways that games could be played. However, I think that there is far too much risk in having fans there, because there's enough risk associated with the coaches, the support staffs, the players, right? All of these different people, the referees, the camera crews, right? All of these different people at these different games, different days, with space in between where they could potentially interact with other people, right? There's enough risk there. They would have to have mass testing. They would have to be tested frequently. There are so many contingencies that would have to be put in place for that to be a feasible thing. To me, having fans makes absolutely no sense. But let's get into what they're looking at. Mask also reported the NFL could close off stadiums entirely for fans, or only allow a certain percentage of the stadium to be filled. Again, I think that would be a terrible idea. They should literally if they're going to do it at all, which I think is still super risky, and I don't know that I would, but if they were going to do it at all, and there's still, to be fair, there is still some time. I don't personally see it getting any better in the next few months, but there is some time to let it play out, I guess. But they should only do it with empty stadiums if they're going to do it at all, for sure. The NFL provided a statement to Mask while declining to address any specific proposals related to the pandemic. As we have said, we are committed to protecting the health of our fans, players, club, and league personnel and communities. Yeah, well, they got kind of have a shaky history on that. You hiding CTE and, various other things. Anyway, and of course we know that the NFL is a business like any other business, and all they care about is their bottom line and their profits. So they are going to, unless they are forced to, they would happily, make sure that there are packed stadiums soon as the first game is played. But, we'll see. Again, we'll have to see how that plays out. We look forward to the 2020 NFL season, as he says here in his statement. And this is the official NFL statement. And our guidelines and decisions will be guided by the latest advice from medical and public health officials, as well as current and future government regulations. The problem with that is there are far too many government officials who are giving the wrong information. It starts from the top down, right? So you have Trump, who's giving, just pretty much using his these coronavirus press conferences, his rallies for his next election, just talks about himself pretty much the entire time, and then just lies to the American people, flat out lies about the status of coronavirus. And we are super far behind, and the numbers are just skyrocketing every day. So it's ridiculous. And so that's not a very, and then with the way that, a lot of the big business, certainly big business in this country, maybe not necessarily small business because they're going out of business with this pandemic, but big businesses for sure want to open the economy again because they just want to get their money, right? So, there are tons of, there are some business leaders that are saying, hold off, right? Apparently, like Robert Kraft is one of those. Apparently him and some of the business leaders that Trump met with recently said, hey, you need to be careful about how you do this. But, again, the longer it goes on, the more the economy crashes, the more the stock market crashes, and the more panicked they get about their stock portfolios and their money, well, the more they're going to want to rush. And then look, there have been several protests across the country from mostly right-wingers that are protesting to open the economy. They're just gathering in massive public places and protesting without masks and so on and so forth. And then you have Florida beaches in Jacksonville. Yesterday, they reopened the Jacksonville beaches and people are going out there having a good time. It's getting to summertime. We're about to hit tourism season. Do you really think that, a lot of these selfish, greedy business leaders and politicians aren't going to want to make sure that tourism season is alive and ready for, especially with, I don't personally put a lot of stock in this, especially because the sources they're coming from and the framing that they're using, but I have seen reports that apparently this thing dies in the sunlight. I don't quite believe that, but with stuff like that coming out, I mean, it sounds like Trump saying, oh, well, it just dies in August because of the heat. That could be true. There could be some fact to that, but he didn't know it. He didn't have any information at the time. It was just something he said off the fly. And there's not really any evidence to that, especially considering there's tons of evidence to suggest that this is a highly efficient and strong virus that a lot of the world experts are saying is, uncomparable. It's incomparable to anything else we've ever seen. So anyway, let's continue on. We will continue to plan for the season and will be prepared to adjust as necessary, just as we have done with free agency, the draft, and now the offseason program. Because of the timing of the coronavirus outbreak, the NFL hasn't been affected as significantly as its peers. The NBA, NHL, and MLS suspended their seasons, while MLB and WNBA have delayed the start of their campaigns. The NFL had to cancel its events surrounding the 2020 NFL Draft and make the draft fully virtual. The start of in-person offseason activities has been postponed as well. However, the league hasn't yet been required to make a firm determination about the status of the upcoming campaign, which obviously more pressure gets put on them to make firm decisions as the days go by. President Donald Trump spoke with a group of sports executives, including NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, earlier this month, and indicated his desire to have fans attending sports events by August or September, per ESPN's Adam Schefter and Adrian Wojnarowski. See, that's not good. Pushing for that, I understand they want it, but pushing for it is not going to be a smart idea because there will be guaranteed outbreaks. There will be. There just will be. Dr. Jeffrey Smith, because we're so far behind. Anyway, the Dr. Jeffrey Smith, the county executive for Santa Clara County, told ESPN Steve Fanaru and Mark Fanaru-Wada a major miracle might be required for games at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California to be held as usual in the fall. A major miracle. Gavin Newsom of California said he doesn't foresee there being games with fans there. And there shouldn't be, because some experts now are saying this thing could go straight through 2022. Social distancing, all of it. They say it could come back super aggressive. It's super aggressive right now, but it could come back super aggressive after summer when it gets back to winter time. Like, there's so much data to suggest this is going to continue to get far worse as opposed to get better, and the likelihood of the 2020 season being canceled altogether is far more likely than the other scenarios. Smith questioned whether keeping fans away from stadiums is enough to limit the spread of the coronavirus because players and team employees will still be traveling from areas where the pandemic may not be contained. Now, these arguments are silly to me. Anybody that you hear it on mainstream media and on the news, they're like, yeah, see, we quarantined, but it didn't really help. It spread anyway. Okay, sure, there is some truth to that. It likely will spread anyway, mostly because there are still people who, one, are just ignoring it, and two, because there are essential personnel that have to, operate in the world. But it certainly cuts it down a lot if you isolate millions of people because they're staying at home, then obviously you're going to be able to cut down on the rate of spread. But when you know, then all of a sudden, you know, bring people together and whatnot, you increase that. Now, again, as I said earlier on, I definitely believe that there is concern, enough concern, and this is why I said I'm not convinced that right now that it would be a smart idea to commence the 2020 season. As a fan, I would love to see it, especially after what is expected to be an exciting, at the very least, draft coming up in a few days. It's not going to be safe. I just can't see a future where in the next few months the NFL would be able to logically, reasonably, and safely come together and play games, even if it was empty stadiums. Because with, you know, again, the players, the coaches, the support staffs, these people are going to be flying all around the country for games, right? But then they also have all the referees that have to go to these games, and then you have camera personnel, because they're not going to, if they do play games, it's not like they're not going to televise it, so they're going to have camera crews. There's going to be too many moving parts and likely not enough protections and safeguards to ensure that there is no breakout. So finally, NFL Chief Medical Officer Dr. Alan Sills told NFL.com's Judy Battista that widespread testing will need to be available to provide league officials with the confidence necessary to start the season. Like I said, it's not just widespread testing, but we have to have enough tests available, which we don't. We have to have fast enough tests, which some do, some aren't right now. And we have to be able to test these guys on a very regular basis. And then they also have to have stringent, isolation rules, etc., for as many of these people as they possibly can, right? And so to make sure that this thing doesn't, you know, just spread out of control as it currently is. I mean, the numbers are astounding. America's closing in on 750,000 cases. We're closing in on 40,000 deaths. I mean, the death rate of this thing is just monstrous. It's insane. So we need to continue to be careful, and it's paramount that we do that. Otherwise, you know, I mean, as we're going now, the lives of millions are at risk, but the longer we continue to evade or ignore the rules, the guidelines, and do the things that are necessary, the worse it's going to get and the longer this is going to go on. So there are real implications for this 2020 season. We will have to wait and see how it plays out. Alright guys, with that, I'm going to get up out of here. I hope you guys enjoy my videos and perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Phins up.